Hey, what's up guys, Axel here, and today we're going to be talking about the FiiO JM21. This is an entry-level DAP that has a lot of unique qualities to it, excellent specs. It has Snapdragon 680 CPU, Android 13, and one of the snappiest interfaces I've ever used on a DAP, and it comes at a price of around $200, and you can sometimes find it even for less when it's on sale. So I've been using this for over a month now, and today I will cover the performance, the sound quality, battery life, what I like, and some downsides as well, because let's face it, no device is perfect. Before I start, I just want to say that I'm basing this review on the latest firmware, which is 1.0.5. So what is the JM21? Let's talk about that. I will post a picture of the specs to kind of give you a quick idea. It comes with Android 13, open Android, meaning you can install any app, 4.7-inch display that's sharp, bright, and responsive, Snapdragon 680 with 3 gigs of RAM, which is basically this CPU is way faster than a lot of DAPs out there, even more expensive ones. And basically the specs, I will post a picture to summarize it. It's excellent. Below 1 ohm output impedance, so it doesn't affect the frequency response of your IMs. Ultra low noise floor, undetectable, total harmonic distortion, and it has coaxial or SPIF coaxial line out, from the 3.5mm jack, and it has line out from the single-ended and balanced, and also includes a USB DAC mode, which I will cover later. That's a lengthy introduction, so let's talk about what comes in the box. So this is the basic box that comes with the JM21. Nothing fancy, and inside you also get a very straightforward unboxing experience. Basically, this is what you get. You get the quick start guide that lets you know everything you need to know about the product itself. You get a USB-C to Type A cable, and you get a very transparent looking, soft feeling carrying case or protective case, and of course you get the JM21 itself. Now let's talk about the build quality here, and as you can see, it has two colors. The front part, which you see, it has a nice blue color. This is made out of aluminum metal, and the back is made out of gray plastic. It's a hard plastic, and this helps keep the JM21 very light and pocketable. And I have to say, this is one of the best things about this DAP, is that it's very light in the hand, it's very portable, it's very pocketable. This is something that is easy to carry. This is something I can put in my pocket. It's not going, to feel heavy if you're wearing shorts, or it's not going to drag down, your pants or something. It's very light, it's very pocketable, and you get your headphone jacks down on the bottom, so you can keep it in your pocket and insert your headphones, your IMs, and take them out, without taking out of your pocket, which is very nice to see and use. On the right side, you get, your previous track button, you get your play and pause button, and you get your next track button. Of course, you get also your micro SD slot right here, and on the left side, you get the power button and the volume increase and decrease. The buttons themselves are tactile. They have this nice clicky feeling to them, so you basically know when you're clicking them, even when you're using the carrying case. On the top, you don't get anything. There is a pre-applied screen protector that comes, pre-installed already, so you don't need to do anything. It's applied perfectly. If I have to nitpick something about the carrying case, I have to say, as you can see, again, it never slipped from my hand. I have to say that. It never totally came off by itself, but if you just see, it's easy to remove. And now, because of the light reflecting here, I will record screen recording, and I will show you the user interface later and what the functions are. Hey, what's up guys? So I'm going to show you a few things about the JM21. I'm recording the screen of the DAP itself, kind of to give you better clarity without, the light reflecting on the screen and stuff like that. So let's have a look. So as you can see, the speed, this is the element that I like. The speed is very fast. The response of the user interface is very snappy. And basically, everything I open or close is kind of opening like that. And that's something that I really like about the JM21. That's something that separates it from other DAPs that I've tried, and makes me, along with the small size and the portable factor, makes me want to use it more and more. So let me show you a few options, a few audio options, a few things about this DAP here. If you can see here, about device. This is the DAC chip, this is the CPU, the Snapdragon 680, and you get the name, the battery capacity, the RAM, the Android version, and the build number. If you press on the build number a few times, it will open or unlock the developer options. What other settings you do get here? Obviously, if you choose mode, you'll get the Android mode, the pure music mode, USB DAC mode, Bluetooth receiving mode, and the AirPlay. And you can basically choose the one you like. Pure music mode just puts you into the FiiO Music app. That's it, so that you're focused on the music app, like kind of like kills all the background apps and stuff like that if you're interested in it. Let's look at some of the audio options like here. Like first of all, if you look here, select 3.5 output mode. I like that this DAP has a line out mode, so you can connect it to another DAC or whatever. Like if you press line out, it will tell you that the volume adjustment on the device, you know, will be set to the max. You will not be able to adjust the volume and stuff like that, so I will choose no. And you can also use SPDIF, like you can use like a coaxial output and stuff like that. You also do get a balanced line out, so you can connect it as balanced, which is nice. You do get 3 gain levels, high, medium, and low. And about the low pass filter, you get these options right here, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, so it's nice. Bluetooth audio, this is the Bluetooth codecs that you can choose. And of course, I choose the optimize for audio quality for the LDAC. And you can choose to adjust the volume at line out as well if this is something you want. And then you get auto pause without headphones. So basically, if it's playing any track and there's no headphone connected, it will automatically disconnect. What else do we get here? Of course, this is Android 13. We get gesture navigation. We get key lock settings if you want to make one of the keys not respond. Volume settings. Double tap to wake. I leave it always off. That helps me a lot with the battery life. And if you try to enable it, it will tell you it will increase the idle battery life. We can look at the battery. Right now it has 21 hours left. Because I'm using a screen recorder. So if I use it, it will keep working for, I don't know, maybe less if I'm playing music, probably. And that's basically it. You get the Google services and stuff like that. And if we're talking about the FiiO Music app, what do we get? Of course, you get the equalizer and you get the scan for music. You get the Wi-Fi music. As you can see, it's very snappy when I'm like pressing on any function, like anything I'm using. It's very snappy in its response. I mean, if you have an Android phone, you might be like looking at this and thinking, "Oh, it's not snappy at all. My phone is way faster." And you're probably right, but if you bought any DAPs before, like this speed is kind of hard to ignore. It's really nice. So these are your settings. You get a lot of settings here. And what did I want to show? You get here the DLNA, transmitting, receiving, and you do get audio effects. If I do this right here, what else? And again, go to equalizer. If I go to sound effects, I'm going to get these extra functions like stereo expand, treble and bass adjustment. So I don't use it, so I turn it off. And there you go. Wi-Fi music transfer is very nice. You can transfer music wirelessly from your PC, which is really handy, especially if you're using a Mac or stuff like that. And you get the FiiO control and the theme and stuff like that. And the best thing about this is that if you play music like that, you get to see the sample rate at the top, which is really nice. And not only that, if you press here, you kind of get this very cool looking VO meter, which I really like, and it's really awesome. And like, even if I'm playing music, it's really responsive, man. It's really, really nice. Like, you know, like you can see, I can swipe down here and I go like that. Like that is really nice. I don't know, man. For DAPs, I love it. It's very responsive. It's something I liked. And yeah, that's basically everything I wanted to talk about. About the user interface of that. Yeah, one last thing I will show you here is if you click on technical support, you do get the option to firmware. You get like facts, you know, frequently asked questions, and they're offline even. You can just, you know, read them, you know, if you have anything you want to know, like how to do the Bluetooth transmitter, how to use it as a receiver. You know, these are all nice information, quick start guide, and online feedback, right? If you have an issue, you can basically contact them from here. And the enter sleep mode that I talked about is this button right here, this one. If you like leave it idle, I suggest you press on it before you turn it off. And that's basically it, guys. That's everything I wanted to know. If you choose from here, what I wanted to show also is that you can quickly adjust the gain levels from here. You can choose the power output or line out or SPIF from here, and you can do the battery saver, which is this option right here. That's it. That's everything I wanted to cover, and let's get back to the video. I have to say though, one of the standout features for this JM21 are two things. Number one, it doesn't get warm during consistent long-term use. Like if I play it for hours and hours, I never noticed it getting slightly warm even. And number two is the software, and I think this is where the JM21 shines. The JM21 comes with Android 13, which means you get gesture navigation. You do get the dark mode, and you do get a super smooth and very responsive user interface. Everything about this is super snappy, and I think this is because of the Snapdragon 680, which is a very fast CPU, at least when it comes to DAPs. It's not going to be faster than your average Android phone, but when it comes to just comparing to other DAPs, even a lot more expensive DAPs out there, I don't know anything that has Snapdragon 680. So this thing, in my opinion, is very snappy, very fast. Like seriously, this thing flies compared to a lot of other DAPs, compared to most DAPs. And that is one of the reasons I really like it, because everything I'm doing, whether I'm browsing the web, reading something while listening to music, installing apps, updating apps, you know, doing EQ, everything is just super snappy, super fast. I can even look at pictures of music, cover arts and stuff like that. It's very snappy, and basically everything I need when I'm talking about, you know, listening to music. So another thing is, of course, it bypasses the internal Android resampling, you know, the SRC. So you get perfect playback for high-res audio, which is something I truly appreciate. Now let's talk about downsides, you know. Let's talk about the battery life, and I will talk about that and the user scenarios, and I will tell you my personal experience with it. So basically, I charge this at 100%, and again, I'm talking about the latest firmware 1.0.5, and what I did is I keep it at 100 and I start playing music. Here are the things I'm using. I'm using high gain. I'm using 50% the 3.5, and the other half I'm using 4.4 millimeter. Screen is turned on at max brightness, and using that system, I got around, you know, 9 hour 20 minutes, 9 hour 30 minutes. Out of the 9 hours, you know, and 30 minutes, I was probably turning on the Wi-Fi for like 2 to 3 hours, you know. So for me personally, I consider that good, you know, like over 9.5 hours of just consistent music playback. That's great. Some people will want more than that, you know. So let's say it's good, all right? It's more than decent. That's actually pretty awesome. I don't think I will ever use a DAP more than 9 hours a day. The thing, though, that completely changed is the idle battery drain. Yeah, this one consumes, like if you leave it not doing anything, it consumes, let's say, like if I leave it before I sleep, I will give you an example. I'm going to sleep, I leave it at 100%. I wake up, I find like during those 8 hours, it consumed about, let's say, 4 to 6%. And that means if I leave it completely for one day, on idle, I'm not touching it, it consumes around 10 to 15%, depending on whether the Wi-Fi is on or off. So that is something that I want to talk about. This is not, in my opinion, ideal. That's a lot, frankly. You know, like I expect like 1 to 2% per day, but for it to reach 10 to 15, that's a lot. And that means if I left it for like 8 days, and that happened with me without touching it, it completely turned off. I have no issues with that, and I will tell you why. Like, because I think they reduce the size of the battery to keep it, to keep the sleek form factor, to make it smaller and, you know, more pocketable. And let's be honest and practical here. I'm speaking about myself. If I'm using it, you know, that means I can use this for a few hours every day, 2 days completely, and on the third day it still has some juice, and I can charge it then. So this is a DAP that I'm personally using and charging every 2 days. For me personally, that's convenient. That's nice, you know, like every one of us charges our phone every single day. So every 2 days, that's awesome for me, and I don't have any issues with it. But I have to give you a few battery saving tips. if you buy the JM21, because I noticed they affected the battery life when I'm using it personally. So number one, I suggest you update to the latest firmware because the battery life became much better using the latest firmware. Number two, you shouldn't use, in my opinion, you shouldn't use the double tap to wake feature. And if you try to activate it from the settings menu, FiiO themselves will tell you don't use it. It'll affect the standby or idle battery life. You can, of course, do that if you want to. Number three is use low gain unless you need the extra power. I did notice that when using low gain, I had I had a longer battery life, speaking of myself personally. Number four, turn off the Wi-Fi when not using it, when not streaming. I know it's not ideal, but if there is a moment where you don't need it, probably you're better off turning it off. And if you lower the brightness below 100%, it's going to extend the battery life. I noticed that, but again, I keep it at 100% for myself. I like to see the screen, and again, charging it every 2 days is not a deal breaker for me. And the last point is there is a battery saving mode, which I do recommend you try. And there is a sleep mode. If you leave it idle, I recommend you press on it before you turn off the display. Kind of helps. Now, let's talk about the sound quality of the JM21, and then I will do a few comparisons to let you guys know how it stands. What does it sound like? For me, the JM21 has a very clean sound profile. It's a very neutral, linear sounding DAP, has a very strong low end, impactful bass, good bass texture. It has a very clear mid-range, excellent separation. It has a lively treble. There is good energy and detail when it comes to the treble. Excellent detail and separation, including micro details. Soundstage and imaging, I would describe them as average, like the sound stage specifically. The imaging is above average. There is a sense of clarity in the highs. There is tight control bass that really stands out, and vocals are crystal clear. I wouldn't call this a warm leaning DAP, in my opinion. This is something that I will describe as detail oriented and revealing. It's very smooth but still highly detailed, and it lets you hear everything as it is. When I listened with bright sounding IMs, it didn't smooth the treble, it didn't smooth out the highs, it didn't color the treble. That's what I want to say, and that kind of makes sense given its ultra low output impedance and low noise floor and minimal distortion. I personally like that it stays neutral, so I can shape the sound with EQ if I want, and it gives me an accurate representation of how my IMs actually sounds like. Speaking of the power, this thing is really powerful, like seriously powerful from both the single-ended and much more powerful when it comes to the balance. And to give you an idea, I will just talk about my daily driver, the Performance 7, which I'm using right here. For example, I'll give an example using the single-ended. On high gain, using the single-ended at 60 to 70, a volume out of like 120. 60 was my listening volume, 70 was kind of loud, not exactly something I would listen to. 80 was painful, and nothing I will ever reach. That's using the single-ended, so you can imagine the balanced is much more powerful. I tested a lot of headphones as well. They were nice. For example, the Ellipse was very loud on single-ended alone, with room to spare even. Something like the binary Dyna Quattro, which is hard to drive, using the balanced, was awesome. And I have to say, the binary Dyna Quattro, a lot of dongles I have kind of struggled with it, even from the balanced output. They don't give it exactly the bass quality and dynamics, I have to say, with the JM21, I was listening at 100 out of 120. That was super loud, but with plenty of detail, power, and dynamics. Something like the HD6XX from the balance was loud, had great bass and great dynamics. So, as you can see, this isn't a DAP that's lacking in any way in terms of power. This is a lot of power for probably 99% of all IMs out there and most headphones, in my personal opinion. No popping sounds when I connect or disconnect from the single-ended or the balanced as well. And that's actually nice. Now, let's talk about something that I did notice, which is the USB mode. I'll have to say, using this as a USB DAC is mostly fine, but there is a split-second lag or delay when you start playing music, when you start to skip tracks. It's not even a 1 second delay. It's kind of like a split second. Like you click and the sound starts a quarter of a second or half a second max later. Same thing repeats itself if you are playing or pausing the track, or you're going to another track, or even exiting that track. Like, you know, this is something that happened. If I had to guess, I will probably say, you know, maybe this is happening because it doesn't have an XMOS USB chipset, but who knows? There were probably cost-saving measures here, and again, it's all right in my opinion. Like, it's a very small lag, and you know, the sound quality is good. It works, you know, but don't expect it to be something like other FiiO dongles or a BTR17 for that matter. If zero lag is important to you, you want something with very low latency, then I recommend something like the FiiO K15, the BTR17, or even their higher end DAPs. You know, they do something that has XMOS USB chip will probably give you lower latency than the JM21. Bluetooth performance is fantastic. Like, it supports LDAC for transmission and receiving, and it has a very super stable connection, no dropouts, no glitches. And actually, I have to say, Bluetooth here sounds really good. Probably one of the best I've heard in a portable device compared to my phone, for example. Now let's do two quick comparisons here. First of all, I will compare it to the Hiby R4 because I know a lot of people are interested in this comparison. Both of these devices come at a similar price point. So what is the difference? The R4 was actually my favorite entry-level DAP last year. I used it for a long time. I loved it. There are differences between them. It's a bit bulkier. The R4 is a bit bulkier in size. It's a bit heavier. It has a bigger battery. It has, you know, a slightly heavier build. It comes in multiple color options. The sound is a bit warmer. It has a warmer tone. It has that Class A amp. Kind of has a smooth, you know, upper end. You know, like kind of smooths out the edges a bit. Rounds them, you know what I mean. Good level of detail, absolutely, and it has a few unique features that are exclusive to it. For example, it has system-wide parametric EQ along with these Hiby, you know, system-wide plugins that are absolutely fun to play with, and they change the sound. For me personally, though, I have to say I kind of prefer the JM21 myself for a few reasons. Number one, I have to say, is the speed. All right, now, the Hiby R4 is not slow, right? It's not slow at all. Just the JM21 is just snappy, you know, like it's snappier, it's faster, it's more responsive. It's even more responsive than more expensive DAPs out there, probably because of the better CPU. And once you experience that, it's really hard to ignore, and it's something that I want to use and, you know, makes me more likely to get it and use it, right? So that's something I absolutely like, and it matters more when you have a lot of music collection on your DAP. Number two is it runs on Android 13. So this is an updated thing, and it kind of makes you feel it's a bit more future-proof in a way, at least slightly. And at least for me, speaking of myself, it has navigational gestures, and I absolutely love that. R4 again is good, but it ran on Android 12, which is still awesome. You know, no issues there. I was happy with it a lot, actually. In terms of sound, again, both are absolutely fantastic, but for me, like, my preference aligns more with the JM21, which is a bit more transparent. It has the better resolution. It's a bit more detailed. It's a bit more dynamic and incisive. The R4 sounded great, but it leans warmer, you know, which again, some people will like the warmer presentation of the R4. I like the more neutral presentation, you know. And when it comes to the size, again, the JM21 is slimmer, more portable, easier to carry. You know, on paper, JM21 has a bit more power, you know, output. But when I use the R4, I never felt it was lacking in terms of power output. It has a lot of power for headphones and IAMs. JM21 is cheaper though, so it's kind of attractive in this area. Kind of really depends on what you're looking for. I think the two biggest differences is going to be the Android, the navigational gestures, the detail neutral sound profile, and the CPU speed. And for other people, they will like the warm sound, the Class A, and the system-wide parametric EQ, and, you know, the Hiby MSEB plugins. This is also going to be nice. Here with the JM21, you don't get those parametric EQs and sound effects unless you're using the FiiO Music app itself. You don't get them system-wide, so that's something. Another thing is you get lineouts here. This is also something important. The R4 has coaxial output by using USB to coax, and the manual says it can do that with RCA if you use USB-C to RCA cable. I never tried that. JM21 has a 3.5 millimeter to coaxial, which is more practical, you know, and it has a line out from the single-ended and the balanced, which you can turn on in the settings as well, something that I truly appreciate. Now let's talk about something else here, which is the FiiO BTR17. All right, so let's compare them. Let's talk about the differences between them. Let's be straight here. If you're talking about pure sound quality, I feel the BTR17 is the better performer. Basically, the bass has more texture, more impact, more slam. Treble is smoother. Vocals are more clear. There is better clarity. Overall, the imaging, the stage, the detail, the separation, the layering are a step up on the BTR17. Differences are noticeable right away, but it's not a night and day gap that makes me want to stop using the JM21 or anything like that. Still sounds great, but I have to say the differences are more apparent in desktop mode. And if you didn't know, this is the desktop mode of the BTR17. You have to turn it on like that. And FiiO lately released a firmware update that lets you use the desktop mode over Bluetooth or even over wired USB without using the second USB cable for power. So you can use it with Bluetooth only wirelessly and just do it like that and use the desktop mode. Desktop mode, in my opinion, when listening to the BTR17, not only gives you more power, it kind of improves the sound a lot. Dynamics, stage, imaging, resolution. I don't know, like it became a way more, detailed sound, engaging sound, livelier sound. I kind of absolutely like that. The bass quality tighter and more impactful as well. So this is something that now makes it more noticeable compared to the JM21. Another thing is when the track gets busy, I found the BTR17 maintained that clarity and separation better. Of course, it has an XMOS USB chip, the latest one, so there is no lag in USB mode, and I tested it like that, even when using EQ. And another thing is it has that THX amp, the 7.8 Plus, which gives it, fantastic clean power. Something I noticed, even when the track gets busy, it maintained that purely clean and separated sound. So for me, if I had to pick one purely based on the sound, I would go with the BTR17. But in my opinion, the JM21 wins when it comes to the practicality, the ease of use, the convenience. It still sounds great, and I personally use it for that. I use it for the convenience. I'm using it even, I would say, like slightly more than the BTR17. Let's face it, there is something convenient about just taking out your IMs, and getting that, 3.5 jack and just inserting it and just enjoying your music. There is something convenient about using your music like that, and I absolutely love it with the JM21. So what's the final verdict with the JM21? Absolutely fantastic, guys. This is a fantastic sounding DAP. Like for the price, I think the price to performance ratio is pretty insane here. For this price, you get a fast CPU, you get, no resampling, you get fantastic sound quality, lots and lots of power. Look, this is a huge power output, probably beats a lot of dongles out there. Get a nice display, you get a Play Store, you get a lot of functions, good neutral sound, detailed sound. It's not perfect in every way. And if you need a longer battery life than this one, or if you need zero lag in USB mode, probably want to look at some other DAP, which is probably going to be expensive. Again, I wish it had, like system-wide EQ. I wish the idle battery life was a bit better. But for $200, and because of this amazing portable size, these are things that I'm personally willing to forgive, and these are things I'm willing to trade off. Again, charging it every 2 days is completely fine with me. I absolutely love this sound. JM21 is a great entry-level DAP. That's something that absolutely gets my recommendation. Highly recommended, actually, not just recommended. And if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comment section below and I'll get back to you. I hope you find this video helpful and useful. Please don't forget to like, subscribe if you like the content, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.